Well, welcome to the town hall meeting. We have a lot we wanted to cover tonight. So we want to start off with Council Member Blaha introducing a charming young man. And Council Member?
Is this on there? Oh, great. Okay. Well, I don't have much to say. Let Charles say it. This is my son, Charles Blaha, and he's going to make a brief presentation.
Do we have enough lights on that? Okay. It's very dark in here. There. Okay.
Hi, my name is Charles Blaha, and I'm in the 7th grade. I go to Anna Jordan Middle School. This year, AMD is hosting an event called Relay for Life, which helps put money toward cancer research. I have my own team, Shoot for the Stars, with Haziq, and we and more than 30 awesome teams are trying our hardest to raise and donate money to help fight this terrible disease. If you would like to donate, go to relayforlife.org and search up my team name, Shoot for the Stars with Haziq, and donate. Any amount of money is appreciated. Or if you want to donate, you can write a check to Relay for Life and hand it to my father. Many of my family members have died from cancer. That's why I'm so determined to raise as much money as I can to cure this disease. Thank you. Thanks for listening, and have a nice night.
Charles, success already. Our next item, we just want to, as we have committed to always talking about the reval or reassessment, Fernando would like to take some of our time this evening, and if you have any questions at the end of his presentation, please feel free to ask them. Fernando Gonzalez.
Thank you, and good evening, and thank you for coming out once again. To get additional information regarding the reassessment project, I'm going to start by playing a video that was just customized for the Multiple Municipal Reassessment Consortium, which is right now is the town of Austin and the town of Greenberg and the city of Yonkers, who have started the reval procedure. So I will have some additional details regarding what's happening next week with the beginning of the data collection, and then I will be glad to answer your questions.
No matter where we live, there are some services we don't want to live without. Safe neighborhoods, quality education for our children, snow removal, and trash collection. How can we be sure we are each paying our fair share for these services? From the 18th century until today, American communities have depended on property taxes as one of the most stable ways of supporting local services. However, without a reassessment project, two houses that sell for different amounts could have identical assessments. Perhaps one owner made improvements that weren't recorded with the assessor's office, creating inequities in the amount of taxes paid. The reassessment project helps to ensure that property taxes are being distributed fairly. Have you ever been out to dinner with a group of people and you were expected to split the check even though you had salad and the others ate steak? It just doesn't seem fair. Inequities develop over the years from such things as higher construction costs, changes in the real estate market, or physical improvements to buildings. Whether real estate values are going up or down, it is important for assessors to capture the value as of a point in time. Even if your assessor processes exemptions, such as veterans and STAR, the starting point should be an accurate, fair market value. To be sure all property is valued uniformly, the municipality, under direction of the assessor, conducts a reassessment, also known as a revaluation, to be sure that everyone pays his or her fair share, no more, no less. Because of the need to capture thousands of pieces of information in a short time, local governments across the U.S. have hired Tyler Technologies to reassess properties accurately, fairly, and in a timely manner. Tyler is the country's oldest and largest mass appraisal firm. Through its appraisal services business founded in 1938, It has successfully completed programs in 46 states and conducted more than 3,000 major projects, including 23 state capitals and appraisals of more than 30 million parcels. In addition to appraising homes and farm properties, Tyler is highly experienced in placing values on historical homes and business properties, such as shopping malls and industrial parks. Tyler follows time-tested procedures for mass appraisal. Details of the process may change according to local needs and legislation. However, there is a short list of typical steps in a reassessment project, starting with data collection, data mailers, and photography in the first step, followed by market research, review, and then notices to property owners. Since a reassessment has not been conducted in decades, Tyler will visit and measure each building and also perform an interior inspection. The first person you may see in your neighborhood is a data collector. This is a person who is trained to gather information about each property. As the data collector performs each interior inspection, they will capture data, such as number of rooms, type of heating and cooling, and other features. The data collector will not record information on your furniture, decorations, or other personal items. Those do not affect the value of your property. The entire inspection will be done in just 15 to 20 minutes in a typical dwelling, and the information is then given to Tyler's appraisers. The data collector inspects and measures the exterior of any buildings on the property. Because of the importance of collecting as much information as possible, the data collector will make an initial attempt between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. and a second attempt after 5 p.m. or on Saturday if needed. If you're not home during either visit, you will receive a postcard in the mail. The message on the postcard will advise that there was a visit and request that you make an appointment for an interior inspection. You may receive an additional visit from a supervisor or project monitor who will make sure that the information listed by the data collector is correct. This is just one of many steps in our extensive quality control process. Information for business and industrial properties is collected in much the same way. Tyler's commercial data collectors gather information on the physical characteristics of each property, as well as income and expense figures for those properties that generate income. Just as your world has changed with new telephone and computer technologies, the business of property appraisal has improved technology for capturing and reviewing property information. To support data collection efforts, specialists will use high-resolution street-level imaging and aerial photography to quality control the data collected. Clear, high-resolution photos will help capture all attributes that affect a property's value, and each image is provided with unique property identifiers. Advanced technology allows appraisers to take the data collected and other office records into your neighborhood to compare property record cards, verify addresses, analyze property characteristics, and make notes of any discrepancies. Back in the office, support staff enters data collected and verifies its completeness and accuracy. Data collection is only one piece of a much larger effort. What happens to all of this information? Tyler researches local land values and looks at how land is being used. They also verify recent real estate sales. Tyler appraisers analyze the market and group properties according to similarities or neighborhoods. Remember, location, location, location. The biggest influence on the value of a property. All of this information is added to the computer database and is used when values are applied to each property. The information is also compared to sales of similar properties in order to assure that the assessments are representative of fair market value. Finally, valuation experts interpret market conditions, which are derived from property sales, and consider their predicted effect on the value of your property. Before beginning to process values, Tyler's appraisers go back into the field to review values. The appraisers make sure there are no discrepancies between what they see and the information on file. Tyler uses several levels of quality control. In addition to checking and rechecking, supervisors visit the project office to review and analyze all aspects of the work, including data collection and valuation procedures, reports, schedules, and contract compliance. After all the information has been collected and researched, you'll receive an assessment disclosure notice in the mail, which compares your old and new tax responsibility. When you see the new value, ask yourself, is this about the price I would sell my property for? If it is not, you may wish to make an appointment to discuss your concerns. To prepare for your meeting, gather information to show why you feel the assigned value may be incorrect. Information such as interior and exterior photos, recent appraisals, sales listings for similar properties in your neighborhood, construction or repair estimates from a licensed contractor. Any information that would affect the value of your property will be helpful when addressing your concerns. The big question everyone wants to know is, will my taxes go up? You won't know how the reassessment will affect the property tax until each levying body, such as school boards, municipalities, or the county, sets its next tax levy and tax rates, which are calculated based on the new values for all of the properties within its boundaries. Some people assume that all tax bills will increase after a reassessment. This is not the case. Some will increase, and others will decrease. No additional revenues are collected because of a reassessment. They are simply redistributed more fairly. Remember the restaurant example? If you order a salad, your bill should be based on a salad, even though you may have spent years only paying for a steak. As you can see, reassessment is a complex process. Gathering information from thousands of residences, businesses, and other types of properties is a major undertaking. Years of experience and expertise will ensure that similar properties will have similar assessments as a result of the reassessment. In the end, you can be sure that Tyler Technologies and your local assessor's office, along with your help, are doing everything they can to see that you and your neighbor each will be paying a fair share of property tax. No more, no less. Your participation in the process is critical to the success of this project.
But anyway, as I indicated, the data collection process will start next week. The data collectors will start in the Indian Village section. There are two sections. They will most likely start in the section that includes the Callan Avenue, Stone Avenue, etc. As shown in the video, they will have an ID card. They will be wearing a vest, and they will have a letter of introduction. If you have any questions, you can call us, or you can call Tyler. I have handed out a brochure which has the website. On the website, the pictures of each data collector is posted, as well as their supervisor, and all of the information that's on that brochure is also on the website. For future data collection neighborhoods or streets, they will be posted on the website as well. Again, the beginning will be slow until the data collectors get familiar with the territory and we establish all the procedures, but then the data collection process will speed up. Prior to the data collectors going to a neighborhood, That brochure that I have given you a copy will be mailed to you. Some of you, if you live in the Indian Village neighborhood, have received that brochure already, which means that within the next 2 weeks, the data collectors will be knocking on your door. And at this time, I'll take any questions. We will have many presentations as we have done in the past. There is a list of presentations that are scheduled for the month of June. We have meetings scheduled at many of the homeowners associations in the condo developments. If anyone or any organization would like to host a presentation, please give me a call. I'll be glad to include it in our schedule. We're trying to reach out and disseminate the information to as many people as possible so that there is a good understanding of the process and to assure a successful completion of the reassessment project. Again, this reassessment project will be implemented on the 2016 roll, which will impact your 2017 taxes. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Just a question as to how, is this on?
Yeah, you have to hold it very close to you have to raise the whole.
So the data collection is gearing up to happen in the summer, when a lot of people go away for vacations, 1, 2, sometimes 3 weeks. So what happens if that person, let's say, is away for 3 weeks? They come, according to the video, they try once during the day, then they'll try again in the evening. But if somebody's away for 3 weeks, their mail is being held, they don't know anybody was ever trying to get in, what happens in that type of situation?
Very good question. As indicated on the video, after 2 attempts, the postcard will be mailed requesting that the property owner calls to set up an appointment. But this data collection process is ongoing for about a year. So there will be a lot of times when the data collection team has moved on to another neighborhood, but some of them will go back to try and collect the neighborhood that they have already been through. So this is an ongoing thing for about a year, and the data, there is always the opportunity to make an appointment, even if you know that you're not going to be home. Just call ahead and make an appointment. That way we can schedule it at a time that is convenient for you.
Right.
Sir?
When everybody comes up to the mic, would you please give your name and if you live in Ossining, or do you live in Ossining, Briarcliff, or whatever town you live in?
Patrick Yost, live in the village of Ossining. Question actually relative to non-residential properties. Is the process essentially the same for non-residential properties? Specifically, I'm asking on behalf of property down the waterfront.
It is essentially the same, where it's an inspection. However, the team that does the commercial data collection is more experienced, and they're specialized in the commercial data collection. The first team that is going out is primarily the residential. The commercial data collection, the commercial properties data collection will start later on in the process.
Just a follow-up to that. Is the commercial property team, are they familiar with and able to do waterfront-related property, which is essentially fairly significantly different uses, and there are multiple ways to do valuations? Will that be part of the conversation, or is there a set way to do valuation on the waterfront?
Absolutely. Tyler Technologies is the leading reassessment and appraisal company in the United States, and they're very well versed in doing not only waterfront, but all kinds of specialized commercial and industrial properties. They do have a team of specialists, whether it's golf courses or non-for-profit houses of worship that can appraise commercial properties utilizing the correct methods and procedures.
draw out more conversations over the next year or so.
Also
Yes, we
remember,
will.
part of this team is Yonkers, which has a very extensive waterfront too. So, yeah, part of the construction. Any other questions on the reevaluation, reassessment, same word? So we have it on the webpage is a calendar that will tell you where some of the other places that we're going to.
Wake up,
It was like a jack in the box there. So it will tell you some of the other places that we're still going to, and as we move past and as we get into the inspections and stuff, it won't be the kickoff meeting as much. This little film plus one in Spanish will be on the web page. We'll put it up on the web page, and as we put almost everything that we do, and everything that we do, I should say. And so please look for it there and tell your friends and anybody that's watching this on television, feel free to watch that again. And again, if you have any questions whatsoever, you can go to the web page or you can call the assessor's office. The preliminary roll, the tax roll, they've been very, very busy over the last couple of weeks, but you know, all exemptions are in. The final day for all exemptions was Monday, am I correct?
Yes.
Because it was over the weekend. So all exemptions are done, and so if you, we'll start putting together the roll for 2015.
Yeah, the
It
2014,
would have been all the STAR exemptions, the veterans exemptions, and all those exemptions that have to go in.
the 2014 tentative assessment roll
2014.
has been published, which will be utilized for your 2015 taxes.
Right.
Grievance Day is June 17th, which is the formal process to grieve your assessment. However, as you know, we have an open door policy. We're open to discuss your assessment anytime. Many property owners have availed themselves of that method, and we have discussed their assessment. But again, the formal process for assessment review starts with Grievance Day on June 17th. If you have any questions or require any information, you can go to our website or you can call my office.
Okay, thank you very much. That's great. So tonight what we wanted to do was go over the Town of Ossining parks. And as most of you are aware, the Town of Ossining parks are town-wide parks. And in the Town of Ossining consists of the unincorporated area of the town, the village of Ossining, and 91% of the village of Briarcliff. The rest of Briarcliff is in the town of Mount Pleasant. We never say that, but we should tell you that because it's just not hanging out there nowhere. So what we want to do today is go over, and as you are probably aware too, if you go to the parks and stuff, that Albert Rivera has retired. He retired in February, and Mario Velardo has taken his place as the foreman. We have the staffing up to Mario and 3 full-timers, and we have our seasonal staff in. Our seasonal staff consists of 4 people. 4 people that are working with the team. I want to make it clear that in the months of May and June, that they're just starting to mow the lawns. They have to mark the lawns all the time for the baseball games and the softball games. So it's a very busy time for them. But in the meanwhile, they have gotten a tremendous amount of work done on some special projects as we do some things to improve the Town of Ossining parks. Someone asked me earlier, they said, how is this all being paid for? And what we did was we put together a kind of list of things that we're working on right this second in the different parks, so that you understand where we're coming from with it. And we'll tell you where it is in the process too. As everyone knows, there is in lieu of parkland money. That is when a developer builds a development and they pay a certain amount in for, it happens to be a certain amount in for every residential unit that they put into their development. So we have that in lieu of parkland monies, and we are firm believers that it should be spent in improving the parks. The crew right now is scheduled, we have two full-timers on Tuesday through Saturday, and 2 full-timers, which one of them is Mario, on Monday through Friday. We do have them come in on overtime on special events, which we have a lot of, and June is very, very full with special events. We have a lot of different things happening, and you should go on the webpage and look at them too. I'd like Henry Yanaberry, and thank you for coming, Henry, this evening, but I'd like him just to go over an explanation, because sometimes people hear about the Recreation Advisory Committee, where Jeff Harder has been our liaison on it for many, many years. But I think people have to understand how well this advisory committee works and how Henry works with them as the superintendent of Parks and Recreation for both the village and the town of Ossining, and how it works together. Do you want to sit with us here?
So
You have to pull it close, unfortunately.
the Recreation Advisory Committee is made up of residents from the village of Ossining, the unincorporated area of the town of Ossining, and the village of Briarcliff. It's representing all 3 areas. They weigh in on basic suggestions for improvements to the parks. Obviously, there are special requests from people for programs or special events or improvements to the parks. Those are run by the Recreation Advisory Committee just for their opinion. They will offer those opinions to the Village Board of Ossining and the Town Board of Ossining. It's not something that they're obligated to follow, but they offer their opinions on that. They have approximately 9 members. They meet every second Monday of the month from September through June at 7 o'clock until whenever they finish the meeting at the Ossining Community Center, which is at 95 Broadway, and we welcome anybody that wants to come down to those meetings to sit in. If they have suggestions for new programs, or they have suggestions for improvements to the parks, or concerns regarding programs or parks, they're welcome to come to that meeting and offer their opinion and discuss it. It's a pretty open group, and they're very interested in getting input from people in the community. There's been a number of new programs that have come out of that committee. They're interactive originally, I want to say recently, but recently with the organic community gardens up at Cedar Lane, and they were involved with the dog park originally, setting up the rules for the dog park and working with the Friends of the Cedar Lane Dog Park and taking input from those people. And so they weigh in on a variety of different things. They also come up with sometimes suggestions from the community, because they know many people in the community. They'll bring suggestions to the Recreation and Parks Department for new programs, and we listen to that. And if it's something that we think is feasible and something we can afford to do, then we're very interested in getting input from the advisory committee. I think that's it. If there's any other questions, you're welcome to call me, 941-3189. If you have other concerns or things you'd like to talk about, we're always open. And my office is like Fernando's open office policy. Come down to the community center. If I'm there, feel free to knock on the door and walk in. And everybody knows.
Thank you, Henry. Does anybody have any questions about the Rec Advisory Board? And the Village of Ossining has, their liaison is John Codman, correct? Yeah. And it was Marlene Cheatham for many, many years, right? Okay. So one of the things that came up a couple of weeks ago was, we're going to start with Ryder Park. Ryder Park is something a park that we're working on. We're aware of most of the issues that we have up there, and we are working on them as quickly as we can, understanding that there is limited funds and there is, and we have limited manpower, and we want to get things done as it's done. One of the items that came up, and they met with us last week at our work session, was the Briarcliff Little League and the Jesse Colley Youth Sports met with us concerning their fields that they use down there, and their proposed batting cages. So we told them that we would bring this to the town hall meeting, which gave more residents the opportunity to ask any questions that they might have, and we asked the board to go and look at the areas that were the proposed. This is each group is looking to have their own batting cages, and different areas by the ball fields down there. The Briarcliff Little League is looking to put it in the old tennis courts, and the Jesse Collier Youth Sports is looking to put it over by their field over further towards Fitchfield. So we're going to first ask, in no immediate order, but we'll go alphabetically. So we'll ask the Briarcliff Little League to come up and give their presentation as to what they're looking for as far as their proposed batting cages at Ryder Park.
Thanks to the board. How do I load this up? I saw it there. Yeah, need it?
So while we're waiting for them to get the presentation up on the thing, I'm going to go over some of the other things that are going on in Ryder Park. There are new ways of purchasing. There used to be a system called state bids, and companies would come up with reduced prices for different equipment or services that were allowed. Now you have some different organizations that you can use, and in conjunction with the Village of Ossining, who was buying 3 playgrounds, the town of Ossining decided it would buy 2 playgrounds, and one of them is going into Ryder Park. But since we have this up and running, we're going to go back to Ryder Park batting cage tennis court repurposing. I'll let it right off the screen.
Thanks again. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Tim Reich. I'm a Briarcliff resident. I represent both Briarcliff Little League and the For Jake Foundation, and I'm also here on behalf of Art Hardy, Kurt Emmerich, and Brett Coleman, who represent Briarcliff Little League, as well as Jeff Magnello, who represents Dale Construction. So we're going to talk briefly. Our presentation is on converting the dilapidated tennis courts and repurposing them to a practice facility batting cage behind the Ryder Park East Field. Our goal will be to repurpose the dilapidated tennis courts into a baseball-only turfed, as well as batting cages, practice area for all players ages 17 and up, who are both involved in the Briarcliff as well as the Ossining baseball programs. And it would also be our goal to dedicate the practice area in the name of my son, Jake Reich, through funding from the For Jake Foundation. Briefly, the For Jake Foundation was a foundation that was organized over a year and a half ago to memorialize my son who passed away. It is a registered 501c3 charitable organization. It was created in memory of Jake Reich. Its mission statement basically is designed to improve the lives of the children in our community by providing access as well as improvements to educational and extracurricular activities through our fundraising efforts. Basically, I can think of no better project that could receive funding from Jake's charity than this. I had 2 older sons that went through the Briarcliff Little League, and it would be very near and dear to my heart to have this facility dedicated to Jake. He never had a chance to enjoy Little League or Ryder Park, and again, this would be special to me and special to Briarcliff Little League. This is a project that will allow children in our community to better develop their baseball skills and enjoy the game of baseball. The scope of the project, we would repair the existing tennis court surface as well as repair the existing fencing that surrounds the tennis court. We would create 4 batting cages as well as lay a high-quality artificial turf to create an infield practice area. This is an aerial view of Ryder Park. The field, that's the east field, the one that you see as soon as you drive in. And the tennis courts exist right behind the left field fence. The 2 tennis courts to the left would remain. They are intact and used. And we would, this project would involve just the 2 tennis courts on the right. This is architect's rendition The current dimensions would completely encompass this facility. The batting cages would be to the top. There'd be 2 rows, 4 each, split in half. And the remaining facility would be high-quality artificial turf with dimensions that would comprise fields with base path lengths of 60, 75, and 90 feet so that all kids could participate on this with proper dimensions for the field, from the little guys up to the big guys when they graduate to the 90-foot bases. Materials, we would need surface, either a poured or patched, properly pitched concrete surface that over which we would lay high-quality artificial turf. We would need fencing, a chain link fence around the area for security purposes, as well as netting for the batting cages. We spoke several weeks about the cost. The price of the project was estimated at anywhere between $25,000 and $30,000. And the proposed funding would come from both the Briarcliff and Ossining Little Leagues, as well as the Town of Ossining and the Fort Jake Foundation. As far as the usage and the scheduling is concerned, the practice facility is to be used by all baseball players that use the park from both Briarcliff and Ossining, ages 7 and up. All players, when they use the facility, would need to be supervised while in the practice area by an adult, coach, or a parent. And priority of scheduling, again, would be used by all Ossining and Briarcliff baseball, but it would be determined based on the project funding. And the usage, to be clear, would only be during normal park hours and during regularly scheduled either games or practices. Security, the facility will be locked with the surrounding chain link fence when it's not in use. And again, adult supervision will be required at all times, and there'll be locked storage bins for baseballs, equipment, and miscellaneous items. As far as the maintenance goes going forward, it's to be shared based on the funding of the project. So in sum, to wrap it up, we would prefer and like to construct a high-quality baseball training area over an existing dilapidated tennis court to be used by all baseball players from both the Briarcliff and Ossining programs, ages 7 and up. And it's to be funded by a collaborative effort from the Town of Ossining, as well as both the Briarcliff and Ossining baseball, as well as the Fort Jake Foundation. And to dedicate the facility to Jake Reich, a structure that will improve the baseball experience for all the kids at both programs who play baseball at Ryder Park. Thanks for your time, and we'll take questions.
Hi, I'm Kim Jeffrey. You came to the work agenda a couple of weeks ago. Some of this sounds different than what we heard that night. Have you now collaborated with Ossining? Are they part of, have you discussed this and you're part of doing this together?
That was the original discussion. We haven't had any discussions since last we met. But as Brett Coleman alluded to, we have had no collaboration with Ossining.
Okay, so at this point, they haven't been part of this. They don't know about this.
No.
Okay, so they learned here. Okay, and I'm sure I have another one.
I have a question.
When I mentioned that the collaborative effort would include the Fort Jake Foundation, both baseball programs, and the Town of Ossining, those were the initial discussions that we had.
You had brought up that there would be some batting machines, not you personally, but when they made the presentation the last time. Is that been taken off the table because that seemed to be a concern of some of the residents?
I think it would greatly enhance the practice area. As we mentioned before, if that is something that's of concern to a lot of people and those concerns are valid, we certainly would not want that to be a deal breaker.
One of the, I don't know what you call them, screenshot that you had up there, it looked like the green area that you had dedicated towards the baseball facility seemed to consume more square footage or more area than the existing tennis court. Is that just the way it was on the screen, or?
I think that's just the way it was on the screen. Those dimensions were designed by the architect given the exact dimensions of the existing tennis court.
So there's no expansion of the existing
No.
area?
Does anybody in the audience have questions?
I do.
You want to, you need to come up and just give your name. I'm sorry that you have to go. That's all right. And please give your name and where you live.
Hi, Linda Lichtenstein, Village Rosslyn. My question to you is, the Brockton Little League is approximately how many participants?
I would defer to President of Little League Baseball. 500? 300.
And Ossining JCYS is how big?
You'd have to ask Mr. Lenahan.
450. 450.
450. That was really all. All right.
I do want to bring up one thing. In the work agenda last time, there was a conversation by one of the residents about the fact that water comes up under those tennis courts, and that is why there is disintegrating. So, Henry Atterbury, since you are here, I would ask you whether that is a true, whether that resident is correct in stating that there's springs and water that is under there, if that is what's creating this disintegration, and whether, going forward, putting concrete or turf or rebuilding, how that is affected.
So the tennis courts are disintegrating. The reason you have two different types of tennis courts is at one point in time the town raised two sets of courts to get them higher up so there'd be better drainage underneath them, and that's where the heating and the cracking is coming from. My understanding is in the original conversations that they were going to put AstroTurf, a flexible material over, to fill in the cracks with concrete, not the whole surface, but fill in the cracks with concrete and then put an AstroTurf surface over all of that. And that would cover up the cracks. That's why they were going to put the AstroTurf there. I hadn't heard that there was a proposal to pour concrete over the whole surface. I think ultimately that will end up cracking also. But I thought the original plan was to fill in the cracks that are there with concrete and then put a flexible surface over the whole surface.
But does the drainage ditch go underneath the stream and go underneath the tennis courts?
Well, there is water that comes off the hill up behind the pavilion and comes across there, and that's why I think it's an extremely wet area, and so there's a drainage ditch there to pull the water away from that. That's one of the reasons that ditch is there, to pull the water out from underneath the fields in that area. So,
I mean, I'm not an engineer, but that's not my background. But whether it needs to be patched or re-poured, whatever needs to be done, somebody needs to comment on what the best way to do that is. That's not my area of expertise, but the goal would be to make this thing last and not put expensive AstroTurf over this and have it crack or have it be pitched wrong, and then water would pool and the turf would be destroyed in 2 years. So, whatever the best means to do that is, that's what we'd be in favor of.
non-engineering,
The last time this was discussed, I thought we talked about putting in drainage pipe and tubes, because I remember the word tube got everybody upset because they didn't know what it meant.
That's that's a separate project that's sort of indirectly related. Again, whatever needs to be done to fill in that ditch, whether we bury a pipe in there to better create drainage so that we don't have dilapidation of this facility if it's built, that all needs to be discussed.
The drainage, there's a drainage ditch that runs alongside, and there was a bridge that was rebuilt this year, and there's a second bridge that has to be dealt with very, very soon. And one of the suggestions was that we would put tubing in so that we would almost bury the drainage ditch. And Mr. Atterbury has different ideas on how to do that too. And that's not just for the tennis courts, but that's for the fields too, because, and it does go all the way around the fields, to the other fields, you know, to all 3 fields have this drainage ditch that goes around, because that's how we get rid of the water in Ryder Park. So.
Right, but it was my understanding that the town was prepared to take that task and run with it.
Well, we have discussed the fact that we have not taken that task and run with it yet. We have discussed the donation of the tubes and what the next steps would be. We're only on like next steps on that, to be honest.
We've discussed that as well. I thought we had gone down the road of getting pricing on pipe and getting pipe donated. I think we're just kind of stalled as far as getting that project going.
Again, everything has to do with funding.
Sure.
And the installation of that said pipe. Anybody else have any questions for the? Yeah, can you go right to them?
Mark Sayers. Mark Sayers at 51 Morningside. I live right in back of the tennis courts, and I noticed in the graphic, or my neighbor noticed in the graphic, that the houses that are right there were cut out of the picture. Has anyone measured how far the tennis courts are from the tennis courts? I mean, the houses are from the tennis courts? And what would the Briarcliff Little League do to lessen noise coming from the batting cages?
Again, the facility isn't going to be expanded. This is something that is going to exist on the already existing tennis court. As far as the noise is concerned, I'm not sure that the noise is going to be any different than any Saturday or Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday when kids are playing baseball, because all you're doing is moving kids that are hitting ground balls on the infield to the outfield. I'm not sure that the noise will be any different than it is now at any town park.
But if you had a machine there, wouldn't it be different, noisier? 4 batting cages, 4 machines?
Again, we discussed if batting machines are a huge issue and a valid concern, I don't think that should be a deal breaker, but pitching machines, in my experience in playing years of baseball, don't make noise. They're wheels that are spun electrically. They don't make noise. It's not like this is a large electrical generator or something. They don't make noise. They're fairly silent.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm Ira Lichtenstein. I'm from the Village of Boston. My questions are about AstroTurf. I'm just curious as to why AstroTurf.
You're going to have to really get close to the microphone.
Can you hear me now? I'm Ira Lichtenstein. I'm from the Village of Boston. My questions are about AstroTurf. I'm just curious as to why AstroTurf was chosen as a surface for this. I know some things about AstroTurf. I know it doesn't play like a natural surface. I'm curious as to what is going to be done during the winter to protect this AstroTurf surface so it doesn't need to be replaced on a regular basis. I don't know if that was part of the original plan, but I do know that, for example, the Hudson Valley Renegades have recently replaced their natural surface with AstroTurf, mostly as a cost-cutting measure, but most people who are familiar with the differences would know that it has a completely different feel to it. I'm just wondering what was the reason why AstroTurf was chosen. Was it a money issue or what?
Many reasons. I mean, I'm not sure what the other choice would be. Certainly can't put grass there. Cement is too hard, or concrete. I think safety is an issue. It's a padded surface. You don't need to maintain it. You don't have to cut AstroTurf. You don't need a mower. It's very durable. There are many outdoor professional sports complexes across the country that have AstroTurf that exist through long winters. So I don't think you need to cover the turf. I think more it goes along the lines of the surface underneath it has to be durable and drainage issues have to be dealt with so that that doesn't continue to settle and be a problem down the road.
So the plan is not to cover the surface during the winter months, it's not necessary?
No.
Is what you're saying?
Correct.
Right, and some type of drainage system is envisioned to be built into it, so during rainy times, whether they're during season or after season, the drainage will be handled somehow through the AstroTurf. That's part of the plan.
No, I think the plan would be to pitch it appropriately so that water on this surface would run off. But the drainage issue, I think whether this facility is built or not, the drainage issues that exist have to be dealt with, whether this practice area is built or not. And that I think is a separate issue but indirectly related.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I want to point out that the Ossining High School and the Ossining Middle School use AstroTurf right. Well, I don't know if they call it AstroTurf, but they use artificial turf right now. And they got through that this last winter, which was pretty rough.
I have a question for Henry. Maybe you would be able to tell us over what period of time did it take the tennis courts to suffer this dilapidation? I mean, is this a 10-year drainage problem that is cutting away the stability of the soil underneath the tennis courts? 5 years? 1 year?
The tennis courts at the lower tennis courts, which are two sets there, I've been here for 15 years and they've steadily deteriorated over that 15-year period. When I first came here, they were playable with small cracks, and those cracks have enlarged considerably to the point where you can stick your fingers down into the cracks now. So they are expanding and have continued to expand over time.
So the drainage issue then becomes a major issue for considering actually a quick patch and an installation of turf. No?
Again, I'm not an engineer, and I think that's pointed out already by somebody. But the drainage is an issue there, and that's why the courts are heaving, that's why the cracks are there, and that's why you don't see those same cracks in the upper courts, because the drainage under those courts was dealt with many years ago. So it's an issue that has to be dealt with, for sure.
My name is Ellen Joseph. I live at 45 Morningside Drive, close to those tennis courts. It would be great if the Little League of Bartlett and the Little League of Ossining could put that one batting cage away from the homes. There's no noise, and the batting cages will be used when there's practice and when there's a game, so there won't be any additional traffic. That would be great.
Guy Murtha, 53 Morningside Drive. Mr. Rice, would you sometimes put that aerial photo back up for me, please? I'd like to point out a couple of items.
That one?
Yes, please. At the very bottom of the frame, the houses have been cropped out of this photo. And if I may.
That was not intentional. This is just,
I'm not saying it was, sir.
okay.
Right here, there's a drainage trench that runs out to Morningside Rock. That runs under a collapsed, it runs into a collapsed culvert underneath this road. That is part of the drainage problem. The other drainage problem exists right here. This is the area of natural springs that have been there forever. This field has been rebuilt at least twice, in my memory, because of water percolating up to the surface. But this whole area is all natural springs. Ms. Jeffrey, you were, I think you were listening. I did not refer to the tennis court. I was referring to this area here. So the major objection I think some of us have here is the fact that this baseball complex, which you use, the language that you used at the town work session, is so close to homes. And the other objection I think that we have is that you're asking for town tax dollars to help fund this, whereas the Jesse Collier Group is not, they are self-funding.
We are prepared to self-fund this. We had an agreement early on that this would be a collaborative effort from the town, from Ossining Little League, and from Briarcliff Little League. We are prepared to fund this with, we would hope that that would be a collaborative effort so that everybody could use this facility. That would be our wish. I think it's the best spot for it. That place is an eyesore. I do not believe that the noise from a batting facility is anywhere closer than Ryder Park itself. So I really have, I disagree with you, the fact that the noise level will be increased. You're not shipping in new baseball teams because we have this practice facility. You have the same number of kids that would be there at any time for practice or at any time for a game. The kids make noise. I mean, that's what they do. They're playing baseball, they're having fun. This is a facility that we designed to enhance their experience, and honestly, I don't think that the noise level is going to be increased because the number of kids stays the same.
I will respectfully disagree with you. I will agree with you that that tennis court is an eyesore, but I don't think that this is an appropriate repurposing of that area. I believe that you would probably be better serve the residents of the area if you were to relocate your batting cages similar to the way Jesse Collier is, to be outside, up towards the end of your right field line, and between that and the Jesse Collier senior field. There is open space there. You'd be far enough away from residents that it would not be, not bring any nuisance at all.
Well, again, I agree to disagree, but the tennis court is where it is, and that either to repurpose this into a practice facility for the kids that honestly, I've seen the Jesse Collier proposal. This practice facility offers a lot more to the Little League community, both Ossining and Briarcliff, for the kids. And as I said before, I don't think the noise issue is valid, and I don't see how creating a practice facility for Little League here does anything to the drainage issues that exist. The natural spring is going to stay there, and the Ryder Park's going to stay there, and the kids are going to continue to play Little League. So you are going to have noise when the kids play baseball. That's what happens.
And if the noise was only from the children, it would not be a problem. It's the noise from the adults.
Well, unfortunately, they need to be supervised. So.
Okay. Sorry.
Rob Lowenthal, 75 Morningside. Couple of questions. What would be, do we know the overall cost to the town, or the cost to put the whole unit in? Like I said, there's been mentioned here before, there's a lot of drainage issues. That's constantly, every spring, it's under construction, and there's more funds being in. That's not a good thing. And then the second question is, they're putting another, or they want to put another batting cage in the park also, although in the back, out of the picture. And I would say like 2 batting cages in the same park. And when I think of Briarcliff, you have Law Park where there are no residents close on the park border, where there is a ball field and a park and tennis courts and a pool. There's plenty of room there also. What my concern is, why this space? Because I use the tennis courts that are not underwater, and the noise level from stood by batting cages. I played Little League when I was a kid. The noise level from a batting cage would definitely disturb tennis players, if not the houses. And I don't think it would be any more or less to the houses below, but I think it would be overcrowding the park with just almost too much baseball. I don't mind the games there. You say the Ossining Little League would be able to use it too, but I've noticed, and I've been told, and I could be wrong on this, and you can correct me, the ball field in the picture, it's a Briarcliff ball field, but it's in an Ossining Park, but I've never seen an Ossining team play on that field. And I wouldn't want, to approve a batting cage that was supposedly for Ossining and Briarcliff, then find out later on that with just the Briarcliff kids that are using it.
I think I've been abundantly clear that our goal is to include all kids that play baseball, not only at the field in picture, but the big field in the middle, as well as the field in the back, the west field. I can't be more clear by saying that that would be our goal. And as I mentioned before, we wanted this to be a shared project. If Jesse Collier does not want to fund this, if the town of Ossining does not want to fund this, we think this is a great facility for all the kids who play baseball in this town. If you ever watch Maria Sharapova play tennis, I would argue that she's probably louder than Little League kids. So, to say that you're gonna quell this project because a batting cage is going to disturb tennis players, this isn't used 24/7. This is used when the kids are playing baseball. There's plenty of other times to play tennis if it distracts you, the sound of a bat hitting the ball.
Have you looked at other locations other than this one spot?
We haven't, because to me this is the spot that makes the most sense. This tennis court is coming down, it's an eyesore, and dimensionally it makes the most sense.
I just want to emphasize one thing too, that Briarcliff is part of the town of Ossining. I just want to clear that and make sure everybody understands that they, when Jesse Collier Youth Sports invested money into Veterans Park, the Briarcliff Little League was investing money into this field. And so that's the differences between the two parks. But so that you do understand that Briarcliff these are town parks, and Briarcliff is part of the town. Any more questions for this one?
Hi, my name is Ingrid Rodriguez. I'm on 69 Morningside Drive. And the water issue is not just on this side of the field, it's also on the other side of the field, or all over the field, wherever you go. So the draining issue is not just on one side, it's going to be a lot of money to try to fix the whole field area. And if you're going to pitch anyway, then the tennis courts, you're going to have even more problem on the other side where you don't have the drainage.
Was that a question? There's a drainage problem there, and that needs to be dealt with. But again, that's an engineering issue that I thought was able to be fixed with...
The park is built on a swamp. It's not just a field. What used to be a swamp, and they put the fields there in the swamp. It's a very hard fix, and ever since they put the sewer line all along the park side, on the other side of the park, we have even more water. I walk the park every day. I've lived there for 25 years. I used to walk my kids across the park, through the park without getting wet. There is not a given day of the year where you cannot walk through over the Ossining field without getting wet. You get wet whether it's rained or whether it's been dry for a month or not.
I'm not going to argue that, but I'm not sure how a practice facility is going to change the wetness of that region. It's on a swamp, it gets wet. So I thought we had a site visit with an engineer that thought that the buried pipe along the third base line of that east field would solve the problem. And again, I'm not an engineer, so I'm kind of speaking out of turn.
What was being explained to you is that the drainage issues, the drain goes around all the fields. So it would a pipe would fix the tennis courts and the third base line, as you said, for that particular field. But there's 3 fields out there. I think that's where it was being said more. There's many more issues than that. Okay. All right, I think.
Ingela, is that what you were saying, or, I mean?
Yes. Okay, so right now we're going to see what Jesse Collier, Youth Sports, Jesse Collier, Youth Sports. Jesse Collier, Youth Sports, come and make a presentation on what they were thinking of doing.
Okay, I'm going to try and stand here in the light.
Yep, give me 1 second.
First off, I'm Matthew Lenigan. I am the president of Ossinings's Jesse Collier Baseball League. I would like to thank the town board, Ms. Donnelly, and Henry for having this discussion and having us here. I appreciate it. I think it's common, and I'd also like to thank my, I live on Morningside Drive, and I'd like to thank my neighbors and residents for making it here. I know sometimes probably the last thing anyone wants to do in the evening, but thanks for coming out. And also like to thank my colleagues from the Ossining League, Jim Bacinas, also a Morningside Drive resident, and our architect, Pat Yost, Jim Curry, and Kevin Corrigan, who have worked on a group that's been thinking about this for a while. I think I said the last time that we gathered a week or two ago that I think I talked to Henry Atterbury, Parks supervisor and superintendent, and I know Henry's very proud about the changes he's made. I spoke to Ms. Donnelly as well about efforts to invigorate and update the parks. I know Henry has succeeded in changing many playgrounds that were becoming outdated, and I wanted to frame this effort in terms of batting cages in the same light. It's about updating facilities with the times. So, without further ado, just to quickly go through who the Ossining JCYS Baseball League is. We have all different divisions of baseball and softball. We have children from ages 5 to 16. This year we have 44 teams on different levels, and we also work with the Ossining Travel Baseball. Important to this discussion, and I outlined this the last time we all met, we serve 220 children who play baseball at Vider Park. The objectives of our league are fairly straightforward. It's all about keeping as many kids as possible participating, keeping them active, educating them about the sport and sportsmanship, and doing this in a safe and fun environment. The Ryder Park Finch Field is a rear field, the field that is designated for Ossining Little League use. And the middle field, which is, they are different lengths. If you're a baseball aficionado, you would be talking about 45-60 versus 60-90. 60-90 is the field that kids graduate to when they become 13 and live on for the rest of their baseball lives. And Little League is the slightly smaller 45-60. Those are the two fields that Ossining's Little League uses. Basically, there's an April to June recreation season. There's a June to July, beginning of August travel season, and then again in the fall, a shorter September and October rec and travel season. Interesting statistic about these two fields is approximately 100 games on them, and I think it's a nice thing to say as well that the Ossining School District's modified program, which will be back in full force next year, the 7th and 8th grade baseball team also uses that middle field. Worthy of note as well, Ms. Donnelly was just commenting about, just a reminder about the town of Ossining and membership, that the senior league for our Little League draws on players from Ossining and Briarwood. So it serves kids from 13 to 16 on the middle field, and is the only game in town, so to speak, in rec baseball for kids of that age group, and takes kids from Briarwood as well.
Can I just ask you again, just a little bit closer, just so that the TV, because it gets muffled when they're watching.
Okay, sure.
You can take it out of the room.
That's not what we had in mind. Okay, I'll just try to be a little shorter. No one's asking to be shorter ever before. Okay. Anyway.
See that little screw thing again? like you're a singer.
This is a test, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's only a little bit too much. There goes your question. Okay. Ms. Donnelly, is that better?
That's much better.
Okay. So anyhow, and
As part of our role as a board, we obviously deal with day-to-day operation, but we also think about long-term changes in the structure of our Little League and changes in the structure of facilities in town, how we can improve things. One of the things, like I said, in line with the theme of updating parks, we visit other towns, we visit other parks and other baseball facilities, and we see that there is a lack of an opportunity for a type of repetitive, enclosed, protected practice to be supervised by coaches for pitching, for hitting during practice, and for pitching and hitting pre-game, and sometimes pitching during games. And so that's something we noted. This isn't an issue that we just hatched, or an idea we just hatched. It's something we've been discussing about at our board meetings for a while. So when thinking about a batting cage, and specifically where we would want one at Ryder Park, we had a variety of considerations. First and foremost, obviously, safety. We're dealing with children, and needs to be in the vicinity of the fields we're using, needs to be enclosed, needs to be located where it's not going to be in danger of another activity that's occurring. Size, it needs to be large enough to accommodate the various sizes of players. These fields at Ryder Park are used by 11 and 12-year-olds on one side and 13 through 16-year-olds on the other side. Like I said, there are two different sizes of baseball fields involved in that, and so the pitching gets to be 60 feet. Location. We have definitely heard the concerns of neighbors, even if we weren't neighbors of those involved. We're not looking to do something that makes the park any less desirable for the people who live there. And we wanted to make sure we're located far from the park borders, and that we actually, in answer to the question about did you consider a variety of places, we have looked at where else it would be. Some of the other problems are you cannot limit the number of parking spaces. Anyone who's been there on a baseball Saturday knows there's a lot of traffic going on. And we also, it has to be a space that needs little preparation so that construction of whatever is occurring can be done easily. And then finally, a huge consideration, we would love it if all of our tax dollars went only to us in baseball, but that perhaps is not realistic. And so we wanted to make sure that it was something that is affordable. We know the town is stretched. I know certainly in conversations with Henry that staffing of parks, and I think, Ms. Donnelly, you started with that before, staffing of parks is an issue in these times, and so we wanted to make sure that we provided something that would not be any strain on the town, and I think we've done that. So here is a fuller picture. I think everyone can see there's a white strip that says proposed location. The field on the right is the Ossining designated Little League field. The field in the middle is the full-size Senior League field, and the bottom of the frame you see the field designated for Briarcliff use and the tennis courts in question. The proposed location is, as you're looking at it, to the left of the drainage culvert. So, in answer to the question about have we measured or thought about how far it is from houses, this is our best guess. You see the houses. I believe, Inga, your house made it to the slide. I think so. Distance from where the batting cages are to the properties is somewhere in the 300 to 350 foot range, which is moved out off the edge as much as possible. This is what the actual area looks like. There is a measuring tape on the left. Roughly, this is foul territory to the right of, and I don't know if everyone can make this out. You can see the foul post in the reeds, and then move another little ways here, and you see a measuring tape. That is roughly where the batting cage would be, and it is easily accessible from both the Little League field, which is on your right, and the Senior League field there, which is how we came with the number of young people served by this facility. And this is how it looks from the other side. You will note there is conversation about, why did you not want the tennis courts? And here is a photo that is between the two baseball fields in question, and you can make out in the distance the foul poles of the Briarcliff designated field, and behind them is the tennis courts. That's a long distance, and that's sort of our safety and efficiency and usage concern, that a coach who has a designated practice or game time here could not be in two places at once, and would not be over there. And I think when you look at pictures or plans from other towns, the ideal facility is a facility that is adjacent to a field. And here we can serve these two populations. Our architect, Jim Bacinas, drew up this plan just to detail the proposal. At the top you have the Finch Field, at the bottom is the senior field, and you can see the sort of earthworm-like shape is the existing drainage culvert.
How do the kids get to over the drainage?
If you look on the right side, there is a bridge of sorts that is used by the parks. Henry, correct me if I'm wrong, for maintenance for driving the tractors and lawnmowers through, and it's also one of the routes across the ditch for the children. And if you're a 6-year-old interested in catching frogs, you don't get across, you go through. Not that my son would know anything about that. Okay, so then we had to consider what the design of the batting cage would be. As I'm sure you can all imagine, it's a booming business, and there are lots of different companies, and we looked at some of the ones in the towns around us, and then we looked at some in the town that we're in, and we looked at this Mastodon brand, which is a brand that is low maintenance, it's economical, it's durable. Basically, the concept is for posts or pillars and wires that the cage is suspended on. If anyone wants to see one in action quite close by, you can go to the AMD Middle School in Ossining, where the high school program and the school district has just chosen to use this particular pattern, this particular brand, and put one up. And it's also in use at Somers and Yorktown, a little further away. And it is it's something that people are very excited about at the high school and excited to use. In our case, in order to accommodate the spot that we're looking at, instead of having cages side by side, as you might find them in certain instances, we're talking about 2 cages lengthwise, one next to another along the drainage culvert. And here is a picture of what one looks like. The posts stay up, the nets come down in the off season, and it is I think I said this last time, this is an unobtrusive sight to the eyes, and will be located in between 2 fields where actually there is already a large net over the senior league field to protect spectators from foul balls. So, and basically just in review, some considerations. The installation cost is part of the cost that we would cover. The availability, again, not unlike our colleagues from Briarcliff's proposal, this is something that would be used to enhance the experience as it is used right now, during games, during practices, existing games and practices. And if there are maintenance costs, we would propose to contribute to them. Like I said, the nets would be taken down over the off season. And I guess, okay. So, I guess this is our chance to pitch this. I think everyone knows that this park is a part of the fabric of our town, and meet someone who's 40, 50, older, and they're going to remember playing Little League Baseball at Ryder Park, and it's been for a long time the baseball park for Ossining, and this is an effort to keep it in that role and also update it and make it current with the times. As I said last time, this is an era when we are fighting to keep kids active, and actually sometimes even there's so many there are different activities that are taking them away, and you say, oh, the Little League only has this many teams. In 1965 it had this many teams, and this is an effort to keep them active in practice, keep them active during games, keep them improving, and make it better, and make it a facility that when people from other towns come to play our travel teams, we can be proud of it and say, this is a great facility we have. I can't say it enough to the concerned citizens as well as to the town board who has to make decisions. This is at no cost to the town or village. And then again, just a reminder to our neighbors, and I say that because many of the people on our board actually are neighbors, but also our neighbors because we are a community. And this is a program design, a proposal designed to keep any change at the minimum in terms of the effect on the property owners who live around. One clarification before I take questions I would just like to make is that the question has come up before, I think, from people on the board, as well as it's sort of a natural question. Why not have one proposal and work with us and work with Briarcliff? But it would be incorrect to state that there was ever an agreement that by our board that we were going to work on the same project. It is a question of location for efficiency and safety. We are just proposing our project. We have never agreed to another.
What's the cost of the nets?
The total cost nets.
No, just the nets. Do you know what the cost of the nets are?
I can only guess.
We've spoken about this before, one of my concerns is that it's exposed, it's out there, and what if the nets get ripped or vandalized or what have you? I mean, is the Austin Little Jesse Collier Youth Sports they're going to have to repair or replace those nets should something happen to them?
We understand.
I think I have 3 questions. I noticed in one of the screenshots that there was an example of one of the nets, but there seemed to be an AstroTurf interior. I thought the one up at the middle school has a grass.
Correct. Correct. That photo is of Legacy Field in Yorktown, and if you go to our middle school, you'll see that they did it just the natural surface.
And which are you electing?
The naturals, yes, like the middle school.
How much usage would the players at Finch Field, which is I guess the 45-60 size, be using? Well, you said that there's going to be 2, or that you're asking for 2 cages.
Mm-hmm.
How much would Finch be using those, or is it they really mostly for the middle field?
No. It's intended for both. In terms of the spacing of space that's not in use and not part of a drainage culvert. We're not going to talk about pipes or any other word for pipes and covering them up. So the existing land, there's more of it on that side, and that's why the choice of that side, but it's not to favor one program over the other. Both the senior league field with its practices and games and the little league field with its practices and games would be equally divvying up.
Are the games at the same time? Finch Field and Middle Field?
They are on some nights, yeah.
And my last question, and this is sort of for both groups, I first want to preface it by saying, we love our children and we admire and respect all the work that the groups are doing to enhance the experience for our young baseball players. So thank you to both groups. But I'm hoping to consider to continue the discussion on a potential collaborative effort. And in that context, I'm just curious, and I know this upsets both sides because this isn't what either of you are proposing, but for my edification, what about splitting I don't know what the name of the Briarcliff field, for lack of a better word, is, in the middle field. Isn't there space in between there where you could service both the middle field and the Briarcliff field, so that if you put 2 cages there, you'd be servicing both groups simultaneously?
That's a question that I've had as well, Mr. Blah. It's a question I've had as well. I think what you're talking about is behind home. We're talking about behind home plate of the senior field and sort of away from right field of the Briarcliff designated field. There's a space there where children sometimes warm up and throw. We haven't measured it. It is, what's interesting about that location that I think is a good point is that it's very central. Okay, so I think what you're talking about is this area here.
Right, well, along the third base line of the senior field.
Actually, no, not along the third base line, because you have your dugouts and you have wetness here. So it would have to be this space right here, is here, and again, so drainage becomes part of the issue. I'm sure the neighbor who has thought about this, I think described the spring as something through here, but we talked about this area. It's certainly interesting. I think it resolves the question and the problem we have about this distance, right? This is not far or safe or efficient for us. This one is definitely more of a compromise. I think when you ask, like, have we considered other places, we're willing to. That would be interesting. I'm not sure. I think that I can't speak for anyone else, but I think the other proposal has always been about the tennis courts because it's the pre-prepared surface. And so the question is what that surface would take. And certainly, to distinguish, these are different proposals, right? This proposal is about batting cages, and pitching and batting is what happens. This proposal has sort of a practicing field. And there are differences in the prices too, obviously.
I'd like to thank both organizations for their terrific job in producing these reports. Just one quick question. On the original diagram, I think, as I'm trying to recall, I don't have it in front of me, but I think that the dimensions that were in the first report were 1414 by 70.
I think there's some discussion about the heights, and that's a height of the 10 by 10 and 14 by 14 are two possible.
Because I noticed now it's 10 by 10 by 60.
No, it's still 70.
It's still 70? 14 by 14?
Oh, there's a typo in the typo. But it's still, if you go to the architectural plan, which, sorry, thank you so much.
No worries.
It's still 10 by 10 by. This one actually is 14 by 14 by 7, but it's 70 is the length, right? So we're talking about 140 feet on this alongside the boulder.
Right.
And then the other dimensions are really sort of height and width, but that's negotiable.
Okay. Thank you.
Have any questions?
Ingrid Rodriguez, 69 Morningside Drive. My question is, how will the men weed whack underneath the batting cage?
How will they cut the grass?
So, I think, obviously, that's one of the things.
You need to cover the mic.
Okay, so first off, that's one thing. I mean, if that is a question or an issue, we're certainly willing to consider the maintenance cost of that. The other thing I think about the design is that there is, to describe it unscientifically, there's a little bit of it's on pulleys, and the nets can be sliding, so you could slide it one way, cut the grass, and slide it back.
It's just that I know that when they had the netting on the other side of the field some years ago, the grass was never cut. Not that it's cut on a regular basis anyway, so.
So of course, that was a different administration. But one should also note that that's an interesting point because, and I don't remember, didn't see. I was actually involved in taking some of the wreckage of that batting cage out of the weeds or the brambles. But one interesting point, which I think is worthy of mention on the distance about that batting cage, is that those were nets that were far in the back corner by where the shed was, I believe, on the slope of the hill. And I think one of the issues was the distance did not attract as much usage as people had envisioned. And then water and slope and eventual non-use.
When they brought it before, the going in between the second and the first field, the senior field and the Bradley field, is that flatter than where you're proposing? Because where you're proposing, I've been up there, so it curves down to the drainage ditch. Okay, so is that a flatter area where the other people?
I'm not sure which proposal you're talking about, but I think
when we were talking about the compromise, when Eric was talking to you about the compromise.
Oh, so the right, that area.
Is that flatter? Along the first. See how that's curved down to the drainage ditch?
So you're talking, okay, and you don't have to photo of it, if you go to that. That one? No, backwards.
Yeah.
This one. You're talking about this area? Yeah. I think it might be fine, I don't know what the drainage is. And I also don't know the dimensions of it. But, I think if,
Close to the property line.
I'm sorry?
Closer to the houses, too.
Again, you're not planning on having batting practice or pitching practice when you're not playing games, right?
No earlier than 5:30 in the morning. No. No. The point is, you have that during practice times, and it is to make practice sort of more.
But it's regularly scheduled practice times.
Yes. And then you also have it before games, which are regularly scheduled as well. So what you're talking about largely is evenings. I think Saturday morning is the other time that is the only sort of early.
Do you have any other questions from the audience? This is a dilemma that continues.
Greg Gala from the village. Two comments. One, what I didn't hear the group talk about is how these batting cages get used. I coached the 11-year-old travel team. And obviously you can use a batting cage anytime, but primarily when you go town to town, they're really used in the half hour before a game. So I think in the compromise issue, it's, teams don't show up an hour before a game, an hour and a half before a game. They show up a half an hour before a game, and you got two teams you want to get in the cage, and so you got you have three fields, 6 teams. The logistics of getting 6 teams into 1 cage or 2 cage, it just doesn't work. The reason, it sounds silly that you need as many cages as we're talking about, but it's just the logistics of not a lot of time. You got to fit a lot of kids through. It's tough enough to get a whole team through in a half an hour. We have issues when travel teams come from out of town. There's these battles of we get the cage and you don't get the cage because there's just not time. So I think the compromise of where makes some sense when you're looking at less cages, but when you look at the practical implication of what we're trying to accomplish, you actually need more cages. And I think that lends into the closer to the field that the cages are. You, as a coach, you can send a couple kids, or you could be throwing in the cage right next to the field while other kids are practicing. And then if they're across the field, from either direction, I think logistically doesn't work. I will say, I'm for as many cages as you can fit on the field. So I hope both have, hope you get a lot of fences. I think on the noise one, I spent a lot of time in cages recently. I think there is a difference between practice and cage in that when you're practicing, you've got one coach throwing pitches to a kid, and when I'm in a cage, I could be soft tossing, and I could do 10, 20 soft tosses a minute. I think you could test out pretty easily. You could go to vets and have the neighbors here listen. My inclination, even though we use wood bats or metal bats and balls, it probably isn't as loud as people think. I don't know, but I think it wouldn't be that hard to test. I've been in, like I said, a lot of cages recently. I don't associate them as being loud. It's actually one of the few times you get kids to actually focus and not be as loud. That when they're on the field, they run around making a lot of noise. In the cage, you generally have rules about you got to have helmets, you got to focus. There's more safety issues in cages, so I absolutely get that concern, but I think it might not be as great as we think, and it might be an easy one to test somehow on a Saturday.
So your recommendation is to build as many cages as possible.
I wrote you guys a letter. I think
you did write a letter.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I played at Ryder growing up, and we had no cages, and somehow we all survived. But you go town to town now, everyone has a cage, and it's just, know, it's incredibly inefficient to try and do batting practice. You got 9 kids standing around the field and 1 kid hitting. And with a cage, you can have 1 kid get 50 swings off in 3 minutes while the rest of the team is doing other things. So that's the appeal to the cages is, how much more practice time you can get in.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. And that was, I must say, thank you both very, very much. Thank the Jesse Collier Youth Sports and the Briarcliff Little League. There was a much more detailed demonstration of both programs tonight than we even had last time when we were here. So I think we have to think about it. I think we have to talk to the different teams again. We have to talk to Mr. Atterbury, not here right now, but discuss it with him as to what the best way to move forward is. And we do realize, as when we're talking about our different issues in parks that we have right now, we do realize that we do, to answer your question, we do have drainage issues at Ryder Park, and we've been there. We've just
I'm learning on the fly.
Okay. We do have drainage issues there, and we do have to come up to some conclusion, because I believe that it's not just at the third base line of what's the Briarcliff field and the tennis courts that it swerves around and it goes in front of the other fields too. And even when you look at the drainage ditch where the Jesse Collier is looking to put their batting cages, that, I'm sure that in one of these 2-inch rains that fills and it's, and it gets wider or bigger all the time. We know we have to do something about the second bridge there, and we know we have to slowly but surely work on that too. So we will be back in touch with the 2 groups after we discuss this. Some other things that are happening in Ryder Park, we are getting...
When does the baseball season, thank you, end? The spring, I guess, one? Is it June? Is it July?
The spring season ends for Briarcliff in a couple of weeks, and then there's a summer season that pretty much just overlaps. It begins at the end of June.
Okay, so it continues?
It continues pretty much through August.
Same thing in Boston? Okay. I'm asking only for timing issues, because as you see, these conversations take time and the information takes time, and so I understand that you guys are in the middle of your seasons. It seems like, this is something we're going to be talking about, and I don't think that you're going to get any resolution in the next week.
We're not going to put lights at Ryder Park, so we'll be here at
I think the answer also to that question, though, is that the summer season is shorter but has not started yet. So I think we've pretty much made certain that it's not going to happen for the spring season, which is ending in the next couple of weeks. But depending upon your discussion and stuff, there is a summer season.
How long is construction?
The questions that are being asked, because we have to now all the TV audience is hearing is. So there's 2 different seasons. There's a spring baseball season and a summer season.
And then the question was, how long is construction? For the project that the Austin JCOS is proposing, that's really a week or a couple of weeks. As we said, the middle school went through that this spring.
Yeah. The answer to the how long the construction was for the proposed Jesse Collier Youth Sports was 2 weeks, correct?
Yeah.
2 weeks. How long to order the stuff? Is it available on the shelf?
Ready.
And for the Briarcliff, it's a little bit longer process.
Yeah,
because
I think that our project's going to begin with an engineering assessment of what's going on, and also it's going to rely upon what the town and and how the town wants to address the drainage issue,
Drainage.
because that's going to be, you're going to address that issue whether you approve our proposal or not. And as far as funding is concerned, I just want to take the opportunity to throw one thing out there. We are prepared to self-fund it, and to Matt's point, it was never an agreement that we would do it together, but we would like to make this a collaborative project with 4 cages so all the kids can use it, and we can't move the tennis court. If we could, we'd move it wherever you want.
Okay, so now I have to repeat that because no one came up to the mic. But let me see if I got it right, because that will help us too. We do have to deal with it. It is one of the items on our list to deal with some of the drainage issues, which are way beyond, as I just said before, it's beyond the tennis courts, it's beyond the third base, the stream goes around, and there's certain places where there's already been some pools. So some engineering has to be done, and now I'm going to forget to say it right. And while there was not an agreement with Jesse Collier, everybody, Briarcliff would like to work with Jesse Collier. You can't move the tennis courts, and to them, that's where you would like to do it, in the tennis court?
Well, it becomes a more comprehensive area.
It becomes a more excuse me, sir. Because somebody will say I said it wrong, so. Yep.
I'm Arthur Hardy. I'm the president of Briarcliff Little League, at least for the foreseeable next month or so. I am turning it over to Brett Coleman, who could not attend today. As far as the proposal, we would love to work with Jesse Collier. I think actually you may have us become a Little League. I heard that somewhere in the wind. Did that happen? Or is that in progress? So they're going to be a sanctioned Little League as well, and that means they're going to be playing some Little League district tournament games on the front field coming up this summer, so just to clarify that. In addition to that, I think the location, yes, but I don't know who the gentleman was who made the point about coaching, using the field and the cages at the same time. That's going to happen. So you have more than one coach with you. I know I'm going on a lot of different tangents, but I have a couple of comments about a lot of stuff that was said. One coach can be on the field with his team, and another coach can be in the cage with the hitters. And in proximity to where the cage is, we are looking at the tennis court because it's an optimal opportunity to take something that is not being used and looks like garbage, quite frankly, and fixing it up to make it useful for lots and lots of kids. So I think that's some of it.
Okay. Something to think about. We'll be back in touch with the two groups, and of course we have gotten some information. We've gotten some emails, which I will share with the board. We've gotten some emails and the like. So if you have anybody that wants to have some input into it, I'm not a baseball person myself, but I like to watch. But so I would assume that if you were going to have kids in wherever your batting cages or your pitching cages are, you would have multiple coaches and or parent support staff with you, so that you would have, when you have the other children doing multiple things, that you have that kind of support there. So we need to get this resolved, but we wanted to make sure that we talked about it at a town hall meeting so that everyone got a chance to discuss or to bring up any of their questions that they had. And the last time when we did discuss it, there was a planning board meeting here that some of the local residents around the park wanted to attend. So we wanted to make sure they had the opportunity to talk tonight. As I started to say before, some of the other things that are going on in Ryder Park is we are doing a playground overhaul, including some new equipment. There'll be swings put in and a younger set. Do you want to just talk about it real briefly, Henry? Can you talk about the two playgrounds we're putting in? You can talk about Buck Johnson and Ryder, please, if you.
So we are, there are actually 5 playgrounds that are going in between the village and the town. There's National Joint Purchasing Alliance is what Supervisor Donovan was referring to before as far as a bidding process. So the town and the village, when they combined, were able to get 5 playgrounds and about a 30% discount. So we are putting a new playground unit, smaller children playground unit, a rider along with expanded swing sets, taking some of the older equipment out. And at Buck Johnson, we're putting in a much larger playground there also, expanding that area. There was also in the village at Nelson Park and Dale Avenue Park and third one, but so there'll be three playgrounds going in as part of that whole project. They'll be starting sometime in the next couple of weeks, and all that paperwork is just resolved between the town and the village in the last couple of days. So we're moving ahead quickly with that.
And not too long ago, I saw someone post the clown swing on the online, and clown swings will be leaving, Henry.
Exit stage right.
Huh?
Exit stage right.
Yeah. Maybe they'll go in a museum. Because they have been around for a very long time. As I started to say before too, someone asked us how we're going to fund some of these projects, and one of the projects that we had down on our list was the pavilion retaining wall and staircase reconstruction. We do realize that does need to be done, and we have approached actually our state senator to see if he could fund us in that kind of a project. He seemed very receptive to it, because when we talk about Lewis Angle Park in a second, you'll realize how he is helping us with that, with the recycling water. We do realize that we have issues over there, and also the railroad tie staircase to the fields. We know that they have to. We're working on them in Ryder. You go down from the parking lot into the field, and one of the things that's in Ryder Park, there is an old trailer in there, and I guess they used to sell soda out of it, and it was a football building, and it's not secure. And so we'll be advising everyone, not just here, but we'll be advising all different sports teams that that piece of apparatus will be leaving the park. I don't think it's safe. We don't know if there's animals in there, but Jeff and I went and checked it out. It's not usable now. And then we had a lot of issues, and we were hearing from the different sports teams, baseball teams, about people letting their dogs loose on the fields. And so we have dedicated what used to be referred to as the wiffle ball field as a little dog park. It's just a place you can let your dog loose. It's fenced in. You could have seen it on the pictures. It was above the tennis courts, and it's just a fence and grass. That's all that's in there. So we have designated that to be more of a very tiny, small dog park, not like at Cedar Lane. And again, we talked about the drainage issues. We're aware of the drainage issues. We know we have to address them. And again, we have to look at everything in priority as for safety issues and the like.
Up where the parking lot area is, up where there are a lot of, I noticed, because I also live on Morningside Drive, along with half of the people in here. I noticed there's a lot of big, I don't know what they're called, trucks, and is there anything we can do about that?
Well, it is it is where the parks store their equipment. In the past, in the old days, highway used to park their stuff up there too, but we've moved all the highway stuff out of there, and they have their little bins with their sand and their it's and a lot of the when they take the trees down and stuff, it goes up there too. We try to keep the parking lot as clean as possible during the season because that pavilion is for rent. But the ultimate goal, if you come into the first driveway, when you come into Ryder Park, you see a little beige hut on the side, and that is the park's building. That's what we have right now. So one of the goals would be long-term down the road is to find a place where you could actually keep all that equipment indoors. It lasts longer when you have that, and also to have a new parks place. I will say that Mario and the crew have been working on reorganizing that, their little parks building, and it's looking better than it did, but it's still an old garage. So that's why that equipment is up there, but again, it's parks equipment, and it's no longer highway and parks. Highway has been moved back to the highway department. At Cedar Lane Park, we have drainage issues. We did have, in the last week, we had the drains jetted out, and we have a marked improvement. It could have not rained up there for a month, and when you drive around, if you're going up towards the dog park, you would still splash through a puddle. So we did have them jetted out with the help of the highway department. It has helped a great deal. We did find that there is a blockage there, and we will continue to work on that drainage issue there. The second thing on the Cedar Lane possible playground project, that again is something that we will be asking our state government officials to help us with. We also, a couple of weeks ago, okayed a grants program, and we're going to start working on that. And what they do is they alert you to the grants programs that become available. Updated rules on the dog park. There is a dog park, and there's a great group that runs the dog park. There's a great group that uses the dog park, and what we have requested that everyone do, just like in the organic garden, just like in the tennis teams, just like in the sailing club, is that everyone register at the community center and sign the waiver sheet that says that they understand that they are responsible for themselves and their dogs in the dog park. A couple of weeks ago, we updated the rules of the organic garden. It's published on the web page, and it also was handed out to all the organic garden users. And they do keep a very tight rein over there. I tell this story often that I was literally fired from the organic garden because I didn't weed enough. And that's okay, because you should be. If you don't do your job, you should be gone. And the update on the Shine House, we have finished the outside of the Shine House, we finished the roof, we have finished the siding on the Shine House, we've had architectural drawings done, and we will be working on that off-season because our crew is going to be doing a lot of the work inside. Again, the Shine House has been paid for by, we used in lieu of Parkland funds, and we had insurance because we had some serious pipe breakage there a few years ago. And so we're, oh sorry, oh yes ma'am, I'm sorry. Everyone sort of walked out the door, so I didn't notice it.
I'm Beth Pollock, 9 Maple Road, an avid dog park attendee. So I just wanted to ask some of the questions that have been floating around in the rumor mill. First of all, our dog park is a great PR tool for Ossining. I know of at least one woman from Yorktown whose kids are looking, younger kids with children, looking at Ossining specifically because they got to know Ossining through the dog park. So my question is, in part, how do people who are outside, because our dog park is open, and I don't think that should change at all, because it does great PR for Ossining. How will people be informed that they need to get this tag? Right now it's traveled to the Facebook, but not everybody who comes, the woman I'm thinking of, whose children are looking at real estate here, is not a Facebook person, so she wouldn't even know how to do that.
Okay, I'm going to let Henrietta Berry speak on that because
much like the organic gardens, where there was a community group that was involved with organizing that and putting the rules together and then running it by the rec advisory, the dog park originally, that's exactly how the rules came about. Friends of the Cedar Lane Dog Park came up with a list of rules. We obviously rely heavily on them for organizing activities and programs there and policing that site, and we will use them to get the word out to people. They've been very effective at getting the word out to all the people there. There will be a period of time, obviously, we don't expect that people are going to come down within the next 2 days to take care of that, but over the next several weeks, We expect that everybody that uses the dog park will get the word, come down and get an ID card, so that we can identify them as people that have come to the community center and signed a waiver or release statement saying that they understand that there is some risk involved, obviously, with taking their dog there, and they're responsible for that. There'll be various means. We'll be able to do that at village board meetings, announce it. Obviously, town board meetings will announce it. Facebook will use it. We'll use and we may end up doing an e-blast to all the people that are on our list that have come down in the past and gotten ID cards, hoping that they will communicate that to other people that use the dog park. But we would rely heavily on the Friends of the Cedar Lane Dog Park to get that information out to people that use it.
So your primary concern is basically a hold harmless?
We're expecting people to come down and get an ID card and sign a release statement. That's correct.
Okay. For both their dogs and the individuals?
For people that are using the dog park, that's correct. And we will, we're going to charge $5 for the ID card. That's about the cost of the card, that plus the processing. So we're not making any money on that. What we will then have is a list of people that are registered to use the dog park, and we'll have a list of people on a roster who have signed that release, and we're going to be putting signage up on the dog park gate saying that you're not to use the dog park unless you have an ID card. It's only for people that have current, up-to-date ID cards. And that will be new signage going on the park in the next week or so.
Excellent. Thank you.
I just think it's very important to know, too, that instead of charging the full price for a rec, because a lot of people don't use other things in the recreation department, that this $5 fee came up, and that's how people in the organic garden that only garden, they do it there, too. So it just lets them sign their waiver, and it helps everyone along the line. Okay?
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. That was Cedar Lane. Yeah, I'm just finished. Well, the dog park is in Cedar Lane. Okay. We do want everyone to know that in Cedar Lane too, we do have a pavilion. We've done all the repairs. It was very badly damaged by Sandy. We have done the repairs on that, and the proposed playground would be up by the pavilion, which would then take some of the pressure off the other pavilions, which is in Gerlach Park and Ryder Park, to help with the spread the use of the pavilions around. There's a pavilion at Gerlach Park that's very heavily used. There's a pavilion at Ryder Park that's heavily used, not as much as Gerlach. And there's also a pavilion at Cedar Lane Park. If you're going up to the dog park, you turn left, right at the first, right, you'll see an old garage there, and you turn and it's right there.
Parking is down below and there's a set of stairs.
Right. Right. Oh, it's separate, but you can park where the fields are, and there was a Boy Scout Eagle project that made a staircase up to where the pavilion area is. It is convenient. It has restrooms back there, but as stated before, I forgot whether I'm talking to people in emails all day and stuff. We do still have an electrical problem in Cedar Lane, and this stems back to Superstorm Sandy. We lost everything in that park, and we now have electricity down on the ground level where the organic garden is and the Shine House is, and we're working on a process to get electricity up to the pavilion and to the dog park again. And thereby the bathrooms and the restrooms, I should say, not bathrooms, the restrooms up there. But as in everything, it is a long process, and it's very, very costly to either go underground to put this electricity back up or overground. And we're starting to get different proposals from electricians as to how to handle that. Thank you. If you've been watching these meetings for the last 2 years and stuff, we do have a salt shed in Cedar Lane Park, which we have been desperately trying to move out of Cedar Lane Park. We don't think a salt shed is appropriate in the park. And at one point we were going to extend Dale Cemetery and move the salt shed, and we decided not to do either of those at that particular time, which was a very wise move on by us at that time. So we're still looking for different options as to what to do with the salt shed. It is in the parking lot when you play soccer, if the soccer field's up there. it should be moved, and we are diligently working on moving that salt shed. Oh, football's also played there, and that's where I learned that the football container is there. Thereby, they don't need their little trailer that was their snack bar or something in the old days when they used to play at Ryder Park. Okay, Lewis Angle Park. We are in the process of putting a new floor on the spray park. The spray park is not open at this time. We know it's getting warm. We know people want to get it open, and they are working diligently to get that new floor down on that spray park. The spray park is also going to be included in a recirculation project for the 2016 season. This is where the big thank you goes out to Senator Carlucci. He has gotten us funding for at least 50% of this project, and we're very, very pleased with that. He got us $100,000. It is not cheap to recirculate your water when it was a spray and dump. However, as far as we're concerned, it has many, many advantages. One, environmentally, you should not spray and dump water into the Hudson River. Two, the cost of the water, which is approximately $25,000 a year, will be cut down to between, and we're going to think very conservatively, of $5,000 a year, thus paying for the other 50% of the project over a 5-year period. So we'll be very pleased with that. And the most important thing is once we recirculate the water, we'll be able to keep the hours open much longer. We're limited with the hours because of the cost of the water. The village does sell the town for that spray park water at, it's 1.5 times people pay for it when they live in the unincorporated area, but they charge us one time for that one. We're working on the completion in the next few weeks. You'll see people diligently working on the stage. We're trying to finish it up. Again, we're working with a limited crew. We would like to get everything done tomorrow, but we have to understand that we have certain limitations and we have certain responsibilities, sports teams and stuff. But we're working on completing the stage, and we will have an electrician pulling an electrical permit to do the permanent lighting on the stage. We did have temporary lighting on the stage just for Earth Day, which has been completely removed. And we will be having our concert series, which will start on July 3rd, which is our big fireworks night. You'll start seeing these posters all over town. And the July 3rd, but on July 3rd you'll be using that, the big stage you normally use, right, Henry? Okay, and then so anyway, we'll be starting that concert series, and then we have just finished we didn't finish anything. The Ossining High School arts classes and the teachers have finished their mural that's on the outside restroom wall facing the train station, so it welcomes residents and visitors to Ossining, and they did an outstanding job. It is absolutely gorgeous. And one other thing that's right near the stage area, in the next week or so, we will be having what you have to understand is that through the park, unfortunately, underground runs a sewer line, and we'll be having those all sewer jetted through, and we're going to be putting new caps on the manhole covers. The manhole covers. I'm forgetting Henry because I can't remember the word. Manhole covers, and we hope that will help with the smell a little bit during the concert series, because it does happen. And since I see people here, I'm sure that there's Ms. Spellman, who is the Commodore of the Ossining Boat and Canoe Club, would like to make a comment, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, hi. Thank you for introducing me. I appreciate it. This should be brief. We, the Ossining Boat and Canoe Club, have 2 things we'd like to mention. We're kind of disappointed we haven't had any updates on the feasibility study. We haven't heard anything at all in quite a while. And the other thing is, the town had requested that we give a list of questions from our members, and we submitted questions in writing in both November and February, and we still haven't seen a response to any of them. So that's what we just wanted to point out.
Okay. And just to update you on it, it is the typical New York State, the slowest, it's a very, very slow process. So we have no updates for ourselves. We have not, if we had an update, we would have called you and told you the update, and we would have certainly had it on this list. But we have no update on the feasibility study. And as far as the questions are concerned, I will look again at them. Again, as you can see, there's many, this is just the Parks Department, and we have many, many things going on, but we will, Liz, can I call you Liz? Liz, address them, you know, okay?
Yeah, we just, we're waiting.
Yep.
Andrew Pointer, Claremont Road, town resident, Ossining. I heard you mention Dale Cemetery, and I saw you, I believe, on Sunday evening's broadcast talking about Sparta and cleaning stones and addressing some issues down in Sparta. And in the mail, I received a little pink notice that kind of outlines where all the tax money goes and the line items that were in there. And basically, I have a little something that I've been working on for about 6 weeks now. As I listened to the names read in the Memorial Day at Nelson Park, I couldn't help but thinking how many of those family members are buried in Dale Cemetery. Those names are the names of streets and buildings in Ossining. Those families built this community. As of Tuesday after Easter, when we buried my father, there are 4 generations of Pointers buried in there. At that time, I noticed the grass in many areas was still uncut. And since that time, I found out the town was responsible for Dale's maintenance. I inquired with the staff why the place looked so bad. I was told that one of the 3 workers was let go, and the 2 remaining workers would not be allowed overtime anymore to keep up with the maintenance. I was also told a recreational worker had to be borrowed for burial so that there would be 3 present to lower caskets into the graves. As of this evening, there are still areas yet to be cut. The older sections look the worst. There are many broken stones of this community's founding members, and I am speaking tonight in hopes that the members of the board will visit these areas, not just where you drive through. Go to the back sections and actually take a look at how bad that place looks. Visit these areas. Find the funds and the staffing to remedy those situations there. Those families deserve better than the current conditions. Tonight we heard a lot about Jesse Collier. The Collier Memorial, which is above the gate, the lower gate. You have to really drive to the furthest back regions of the cemetery. Okay? The Collier Memorial has been tagged with graffiti. It looks forgotten. It's a shame that this has been allowed to happen. The condition of this community's founders' final resting place, as the condition of their final resting place, and many of this board's current policy initiatives give me the feeling that it's out with the old and in with the new, and a total disregard to the history of this community. I heard an awful lot tonight about a lot of different issues in Ryder Park and a lot of different other things. I really don't understand. I don't know how the town came to be responsible for Dale Cemetery, but Mother's Day, the place looked horrendous. And with Father's Day coming up, I realize you've added seasonal help to aid in the weed whacking around the stones. There's still a great deal of ground in that cemetery that has not been cut and it has not been tended. After my father's funeral, I attended a funeral at St. Augustine's. St. Augustine's is a palace compared to Dale Cemetery, which is a disgrace. And I would hope you would find time and resources to remedy this situation. Thank you.
Well, again, the first thing I want to do is give my condolences. And I do want to tell you that Dale, again, is not on this list of things we were going to talk about tonight, but is a top priority. We have put Sparta Cemetery in the hands of a landscaping company so that nobody has to take care of both, or we can make sure that that's done. Right now, the way that Dale Cemetery is run, it is run on a not-for-profit outside company. Yes, the town is ultimately responsible, but it's licensed to an outside company. Those gentlemen work for that outside company. We are in the middle of talking to, and as you are well aware, George Weeks is the director of that company. As you are well aware, well, you're not well aware, but we are in the middle of talking to George and coming up with different plans on making sure that we can raise the level of Dale Cemetery as quickly as we possibly can, back to where it should be. The issues about the third gentleman and all that other stuff is there was certain funding that goes into Dale Cemetery. We know we have to make changes there. And it's not out with the old and in with the new, it's to fix that historical site. So I just want you to know that. It is something that we're working on practically every day. There's a Dale Cemetery discussion.
It's the same guys doing the work. The same two guys are
No,
there.
they've
They've been there for that whole time period for the
I-
last, I don't know, decade or so.
and they
like I
work-
said, it just seems to me that in the last, I mean, granted, this was a tough year with weather.
It was a very tough year.
And I understand overtime was used for plowing snow and all of those other things. But I honestly do think that the condition of that cemetery, and to me, it's disrespectful for the people that made this
Totally
community.
agree with you.
And
Totally agree with you.
I'm really not interested in how or
Right.
why,
You
but
just
all
want
I'm
it fixed.
interested is, it needs to be fixed. I'm not
Absolutely.
looking to assign blame and
No.
anything of all of that nature.
Right.
It's a disgrace and it needs to be addressed.
And you are not the first that
Thank
has
you.
told us that, and you won't be the last. But yes, I totally understand where you're coming from. Thank you.
I'm on 53 Morningside. Two things. First of all, to Ryder Park again, I've not heard anything to address the drainage ditch that runs between 51 and 53 Morningside, runs between Morningside Drive and runs under the Park Road and exiting out. A culvert that is collapsed. Is anything but done to address that part of the drainage problem in Ryder Park? Because this problem affects my property. It floods my property when it rains, like in a day like today. This is your park property. The Parks Department points to the Highway Department, says it's a Highway Department problem because it's the silt from the Highway Department. The Highway Department says, no, it's parkland, it's the Parks Department.
I have, to be honest with you, I've never heard either one of those two groups blame each other, but we'll definitely.
They
I
have.
know exactly where you're
The
coming
second point I'd like to address was just mentioned about the condition of Dale Cemetery. And I can attest that on Mother's Day, the grass had not been cut anywhere in Dale Cemetery. It was an absolute disgrace.
We do realize
Thank
that. Okay, we just want to finish up some of these last items, and then we do have, it's 9:45, so we want to adjourn this meeting, but we have to go into a special session for a couple of items. At Gerlach Park, we want to, the pavilion, you can rent the pavilions, you can, and pavilion has been all totally refreshed. I just finished it up the other day, so it's all painted and everything. And again, if you're interested in renting the pavilion, it can be, you can go to the community center and see Lou's at the front desk. And GE put in some basketball courts, and we're very happy with that. Buck Johnson Park, as Henry said, is going to get new playground equipment. So that's really what we had for this evening. We want to thank everybody that came out for Stash the Trash. We hope to work on different groups and different things that are going on. And again, we want to thank the Parks Department and Henry Atterbury for his job that he's done all these years as the superintendent. So I would like to adjourn this.
Just because I know a lot of people came in after the beginning of the meeting, we had one visitor come in, my son Charles Blaha, who introduced the fact that Relay for Life, which is a cancer research fundraiser, is going on at A&M Dorner School on this Saturday night, June 7th. And on behalf of the Relay for Life team and my son's team, which is Shoot for the Stars with a Z. We hope that people will come out to Relay for Life Saturday evening starting at 7 p.m. Attend, participate, donate. They raised $88,000 last year, which is an enormous amount of money for a bunch of school students who care about future treatments and research for cancer. So please do come out, and thank you for your support.
So I'd like to adjourn this meeting into a special session.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, so this, all in favor?
Aye.
So we're going to adjourn this town hall meeting into a special session of the town board, special meeting. So if you guys want to move over here. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you very much. And we'll be talking soon about all these issues that we're talking about here. Just keep in touch. Keep checking the webpage, and we'll continue working on this.
Councilmember Harder.
Present.
Councilmember Jeffrey.
Present.
Councilmember Baha.
Present.
Councilmember Wilshire.
Present.
Supervisor Donnelly.
Present. Present.
There are no public.
You need to talk into that mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, there's no public comment.
No public comment. Board Resolution
We'll talk
A,
about that one.
Personnel Parks Department termination. Resolved that the town board of the town of Boston hereby terminates the seasonal employment of Delon Rodriguez effective May 1st, 2014. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We want to have a short discussion on the waiver of penalties for 507 North State Road, which is the old police station.
Should we read the resolution?
Yeah, want to read the, should we go into executive session?
We'll go into
Yeah.
a quick executive session and come back out.
Okay. All right. Should we read the resolution first, or should we?
So make a motion. Read the resolution, make a
Okay.
motion, and then we'll go into executive session.
Okay, letter B, waiver of penalty, 507 North State Road, Access Point. Whereas Access Point entered into a pilot payment in lieu of taxes agreement with the town of Boston, and whereas due to an administrative error on the part of the town of Boston in reference to said pilot, Access Point did not receive an accurate tax bill in time to pay by the deadline of April 30th, 2014. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Boston hereby waives the penalty on this tax bill and affirm that this does not set a precedent for the waiver of penalties on this or any other property in the town of Boston. Do I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Figure that out.
I move to move into executive session for discussion on this topic.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll go into executive.
Okay.
So,
Move to adjourn out of executive session and return to the special meeting.
okay. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, just for further clarity and an explanation as to the basis for this resolution regarding the penalties in connection with certain payments that had to be made by Access Point at 507 North State Road. First of all, it should be clear that the real estate taxes on the property were not paid late. They were paid pursuant to a pilot agreement. As you know, this building was recently purchased this year. Pilot agreement is a payment in lieu of tax station agreement, which was negotiated through the Westchester County IDA. The reason why the penalties would have otherwise could have been imposed was because actually special district payments, it turns out, were not included in the pilot payment, and there was a bit of misunderstanding and confusion with respect to the manner in which the pilot agreement was written as prepared by the IDA. As a result, and because of the unique nature of the fact that the property went from a publicly owned building, a town-owned building, to a privately owned building, there were certain special district payments which were originally were exempt to the town but not exempt to the new owner, and other special district payments which would have been paid by the town as well, and there was a need to undergo a complete review in order to correctly apportion what had to be paid and when. So
The town was not even able at that point on a timely basis to advise the taxpayer as to the correct amounts to be paid, and that was the reason why it could not be paid during the statutory period by April 30th.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter C, budget modification. Resolved that the town board of the town of Boston hereby makes the following budget adjustments to the 2014 adopted budget. And these budget adjustments are all on file in the clerk's office. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn the special meeting.
Motion to
No,
Oh, adjourn the special meeting.
Motion to adjourn special meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, thank you all very much, and this has been a very educational town hall meeting, I thought. We got a lot of good information. We have a lot of things to think about, and it was a good update meeting as to some of the things that are going on in our parks and some of the issues that we have to deal with as a board. I want to remind everyone that the parks is just one department, and we have many departments within the town, so you can imagine the amount of work that has to be done. But we want to thank our exceptional department managers and our staff, and they do an excellent job. And just like Fernando has said before, he came out with his role this week, his 2014 assessment role, and that was a tremendous amount of work done by the assessor's office too. Every department's been doing their due diligence, and so we want to thank you, and we want to thank all of our people. This Saturday, please don't forget, you can go to Scarborough Presbyterian Church and learn all about Sparta Cemetery, and go and clean stones and stuff, yep, at 10 o'clock. Also, this Saturday, there is a autism and safety program happening at the community center, and that's going to be by the Ossining Village Police Department, the fire department, and the ambulance, so it's all our first responders. And then, of course, in the afternoon is the Relay for Life, which is a all-night session, as our young man, our young Mr. Blaha, not this young Blaha, the younger Blaha, talked about tonight. And if you want to come over and talk to me, I'll be at the registration booth from 4 to 6:30. So I want to thank everybody. Have a great week. There's a lot happening in Ossining. We'll put out our recap of all activities that are going on, because a week from Saturday is the Village of Ossining Fair. And this Thursday night, just for your information, in 2 days, is the first Thursday in Briarcliff, where you can go around to the little shops that they're open, and I believe this is a pet parade this month, so it should be a lot of fun. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.